Hello, everyone. Hello, good people. And today we have another session of Spring of Code and loving the energy that you all have been putting in the group chat regarding how these sessions are really valuable to you. So, yeah, the idea was, like there was an idea. Avengers, there's this lining. There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people. And today we have one of the remarkable people with us, whose name is Safal. So first of all, welcome Safal. And would you like to tell us a bit more about yourself? Like, what do you do? What is Safal doing today?
Oh my God, today I have been working. I've managed to merge three PRs today, okay, at
Nice.
work. And no, it's not nice, okay, because all three of them are like one or two line changes, but all of them involved like so this is the thing, right? When you make small changes, people are just gonna nitpick, right? They're gonna be like, oh, actually,
Hmm.
can you like change this? Maybe like you've defined this constant. Can you change it into a structure and define it inside that so that it looks better? All that kind of stuff. So it's just been annoying. But yeah, really glad to be
Yeah.
here and have a conversation about whatever we're gonna have a conversation. Oh, actually, there's a title, right? Yeah, a conversation about Hermes, whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, making small changes like it's like how is that different? Like when we are first starting with open source, and we get our
Uh-huh.
small contributions merged. So
Oh
that
yeah,
time we had a have a really nice feeling, right? You okay? We accomplished so much.
yeah, yeah.
Now you're saying like it's not good.
No,
So
no,
how
no.
is that
I'm
transition
saying,
happening?
I'm saying how this transition works is, see,
Yeah.
I'll tell you the exact change that I had to make. Okay, it was like just a variable that I had to add and like make sure that oh, the very famous meme, right? You don't know how to center a div,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I'm working as an
Yeah.
iOS engineer, so you need to center a view, right?
Mm.
So centered the view, everything okay, but you need to give like in iOS you need to give like a leading and trailing padding, basically from the
Mm.
edges, right?
Yeah.
So I gave the name as like what leading trailing padding for this view. Okay,
Mm.
I kept that as the variable name. They were like, actually, this is too long. Can you change that? I'm like, how does that matter? How does that matter? The
Yeah.
value matters, man. But okay. I mean, I
That
understand. Like it's
reminds
a huge
me.
code,
Yeah.
right? You need to have
Mm.
good names. But oh my
That
god, that
reminds me
that,
of
that
Elian.
conversation.
Elian
Oh
had
yeah.
like very. That reminds me of that. But yeah, can
Oh
you
my
tell us a
god.
bit more about like what you're working on right now? What job do
Yeah.
you do right
Sure. Yeah. So I work at Zomato as an iOS engineer. Pretty much it. I'm working on the consumer app, like on the consumer iOS app, like whatever any
now?
features that are launched or from the basics of like materializing your wireframes that are created by the design team to making API calls, whatever
Mm-hmm.
needs to be done basically. Right now I'm mostly focused on building UIs for some features, whatever features that we need to make. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's been nice. iOS is kind of working out now because I've gotten decent at it. Like I wouldn't say very good, but like it's okay. I can manage now.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's what's been going on. What
nice. So
about you, man?
it's
How
good.
how have you been working open source and stuff?
Yeah, I am doing open source. I'm like planning on like summer interns and stuff, and got a
Uh-huh.
few nice opportunities doing the MLH fellowship. So working on that, and yeah, YouTube and just studying, traveling,
Staying,
chill,
staying
chill
busy.
scene, staying busy. Yeah, not worrying about too many things, but it's
Yeah, yeah.
relaxing.
That's that's what
I
that's,
think
that's what you, that's
relaxing.
what you got to do. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure you have a more busy calendar than I would say 10 friends that I know plus myself combined. But okay, yeah, chill life. Yeah.
people ask me like, how do you manage so many things? Very was like chill. First of all, just relax and forget who you are, and then
Just work. Yeah, just work.
everything will work out. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to like the topic for today. So we are going to
Hmm.
talk about Safal and our experiences with contributing to Facebook open source. We contributed during the MLH fellowship, and we'll be answering any questions you may have in this session. So make sure you send it in the chat. Also, one more important thing to make the most out of this session is follow Safal on Twitter. You can you can You can follow the
It's
Twitter handle. You can see it on the
oh yeah,
screen, right?
oh
On the
yeah.
right hand side of our name. So make sure you do that. But yeah, let's get
Okay.
started. So just give me, let me just open the agenda over here for a
Look,
second.
chat. It's not my fault, okay? This is how everybody is like writing the Twitter handle beside the name, okay? So I felt like,
Yeah.
why not me, right? Why not me?
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, see, you need a point of contact, right? After the session is over. So we use Twitter for that.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway, moving forward to just let's talk a bit more about the organization, right? Let's talk a bit more about the project. So, what project, Safar, did you contribute to in Facebook?
yeah. So I contributed to Hermes, which is a part of React Native. It falls under the React Native umbrella, basically. But my feature, I would say, was like a little a little unique in the sense that we could start from scratch, right? Like our
Hmm.
project was like a completely like, hey, can we do this feature? Maybe. Like it was not augmenting anything. I mean, it was augmenting things in the grand scheme of things, but it was like we had to work from scratch to build the feature. So in that way, it was unique because like I imagine that all the code that you wrote with Saurav and I would also say others wrote during the MLS fellowship were
Hmm.
contributing to repos, while ours was like a repo from scratch itself, right? So that was in that terms it was slightly unique, but yeah, I worked on creating a performance profile
Hmm.
transformer, which can transform like the so Hermes generates a performance had the facility of creating performance profiles, but it was not
Hmm.
read on Chrome, and Chrome being the most popular web debugging tool
I see. Yeah.
especially for
Yeah.
performance, it was
I
a
just
good
wanna
idea
share one
to
thing.
like work
Yeah,
on.
I just wanna share
Yeah.
one thing. Like, we have a lot of beginners joining first of all. So before moving
Okay,
on to
okay.
these big things, explain
Yeah,
Hermes
sure,
to
sure, sure.
me. Explain Hermes to me like I am, 5 years old or 10 years old,
Oh
or
my
I
God.
just know a bit of, let's say, or
This
let's
is
say I'm
a
a very
this is a
beginner. Okay, that's pretty difficult to do. Uh, so how about you explain Hermes to me? Like I just know, let's say, JavaScript and a bit of web development, for example.
my God, you have given me quite the task, yeah.
Yeah,
So, look, guys, firstly, I am not an expert, so I'm literally opening up the documentation as we speak. Yeah,
that's okay.
that's what
We
everyone
can do
does.
that.
Okay, like
That's fine. I
nobody
do it.
knows anything of the scratch of their head. Yeah, so
Yeah.
um, Hermes is an open source JavaScript. So I'll just read out this line, and then I'll
Hmm.
try to explain this. Okay. So Hermes is an open source JavaScript engine optimized for running React Native apps on Android. Okay. So the idea is basically I'm assuming because you said JavaScript, I would assume that you have some familiarity with Node.js and other frameworks
Yep.
that can be used
Sounds
to
good.
execute JavaScript, right? I
Hmm.
would say Hermes is exactly like Node.js, but very optimized for React Native and running apps on Android and yeah, just running apps on Android depending on because Android phones can vary. Like Android phones and PCs are different, right?
Hmm.
Like a server or a PC or an Android phone is built different. So Hermes is just a JavaScript engine which is specifically geared for using for running React Native code on Android devices. That's pretty much it. I wish I could go simpler than that, but yeah, you can. So
That makes sense.
you
Yeah.
have like a console log hello world, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Imagine the file was written in a some JavaScript file. You know how you run the file using node file name.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You could also
Hmm.
similarly run the file using Hermes file name, but I mean that's nobody really uses it for that. It's just specifically towards React Native. So yeah, that's the idea.
There's a question on the screen. Is it like backend for React Native?
I mean, not really.
No. This is
It's
a
more like it
yeah.
executes the JavaScript
Hmm.
code, you know? It's not
Hmm.
a backend.
Yeah. So people have this thing like Node.js, like it's a framework or something like that. So no, it's like a server. It's running your
It's just an
JavaScript.
engine.
Yeah, it's an
Just an
engine.
engine.
So it's not like this is like a framework or things like that. But yeah, we'll talk more about that later. But let's move forward. Yeah, so sort of like an engine. Exactly. Yeah, you got it. Okay, so now let's talk about this is a good question, which is your journey towards open source contribution to Hermes. Hermes.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Yeah.
so it's actually, yeah. So maybe you can now share, what you contributed to and what features you added, or yeah.
Of course, of course. Yeah. So, in the feature that I added was, like I was saying earlier, that Hermes already had a way to profile performance. So, whenever you build an app, this is for everyone who is a little foreign to the concept of performance profiling. Whenever you build an app, you want to also know how fast an app works, where uh, in what screens of the app does it take like very long to load, or how fast your data is being fetched from the server, all this kind of stuff, right? You want to profile your application for performance. You want to know how good it performs. In different network conditions, it would perform differently. Or basically, profiling includes like a whole variety of things. Performance is one of those things. And Hermes already had the facility to do performance profiling, but
Hmm.
it did generate like an output file which is a performance profile, and you could effectively like
Hmm.
use that to profile your app, but you couldn't really load that performance profile on Google Chrome. And Google Chrome is the most popular tool for performance profiling, because Chrome, everybody who is a coder and has done some kind of web development knows that Chrome DevTools are like super, super useful. And Chrome DevTools also has a performance stat, which I did not like. Honestly, I did not notice prior to like this contribution, but it does have a performance tab, and that is what is used by everyone for performance profile. Now, because this profile could not be loaded into Google Chrome, I built a transformer which converts the profile that's emitted by Hermes into a format which can be loaded into Google Chrome. So that was the project that I worked on.
Nice. And let's not talk about, like we have a few questions like, what about the tech stack? Like, what are the prerequisites, for example, if you want to contribute to such projects, right? Because that's the first question we get from,
Hmm.
people who are beginners.
Hmm.
So what tech
Hmm.
stack is required in order to contribute, and what would your way be if you are first starting with contributing to such projects?
Sure,
Not
sure.
specific to, React Native and Hermes, because it's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It becomes too niche. Yeah,
yeah,
we
it's
want
not,
we, wa-
it's
we
like
want to
very,
get we want to have mass appeal. Yeah,
yeah, it's also Facebook open source projects, when you're first
yeah, yeah,
starting to contribute. I mean, we know, like,
yeah.
so let's talk about in general, right? So what is like the
Sure.
prerequisite step?
Uh, I know this is very cliched, but you do need to have like genuine interest in contributing, because more often than not, you are definitely not going to be aware of like the entire code base, or like what it's written in, whatever. You're just not going to be aware. It's going to take a lot of effort to firstly dig through the code base and understand where you need to make your change. But if I had to speak from well, our experience during the MLH fellowship, I would say most all the code that we had was either in JavaScript or well in TypeScript or Flow. Uh, I would say mostly. I think like most of us did our stuff in TypeScript, but I know for a fact that Flow is also very common, because I mean it's a Facebook thing, right? So they just use Flow. So
Yeah.
yeah, you just need to know JavaScript actually, because TypeScript and Flow are kind of like augmentations, right? It's like going back to the Avengers thing, right? It's like Avengers 1 is JavaScript, but like by the end when they beat Thanos and everything, that's like TypeScript. That's JavaScript on like drugs. Yeah, that's like
Steroids.
extremely hyper. Yeah, full steroids. Like completely hyper. Yeah, and that's what you get by using TypeScript. And once you go with TypeScript, you just don't go back, right? It's like crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say you just need to know JavaScript pretty much. Yeah.
Can you maybe also share like the GitHub repo and navigate through the, what the
Sure.
structure is looking like? Yeah.
Sure. Sure. Give me a second. I'll just share my screen. Okay. So yeah, so I'll just walk you guys through the repo itself. So right now it's like
Can you zoom in a
firstly,
little bit? Yeah.
can you see my screen?
Yeah. Can you zoom in a little
Yeah.
bit?
Okay.
That works.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, let me just make sure that I am at this level. Yeah. Can you see everything now?
Yep.
Okay, great. So right now my repo is a part of the React Native community. Uh, Me and Jesse had worked on this primarily. Also, my name Yanni, right? He was a mentor. So we got some help from him as well. I mean, a lot of help from him actually. But yeah, the three of us were the contributors to this repo. This one does. I mean, I believe this was like the first time when I understood like the importance of good documentation, right? Like all
Hmm.
open source projects, you need to have good documentation so that everybody understands how to use it. So this is like a challenge. Yeah, let's see if I can recollect what I had written in like what exactly goes on throughout this repo, right? Yeah. So this is just it's a TypeScript package that converts Hermes CPU profiles to Chrome Developer Tools compatible JSON array format, which is a wordy way of saying that it's just going to be, or you can open it in Chrome DevTools. Now, this is how you use it. We basically wrote like an npm package, right? So a package, for those who might not be aware, it's like a ready to use black box that you can just use. You can plug in your inputs and get the output that you require, right? So the repo is essentially like an npm package. Npm is the place where we deploy these black boxes, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, this is how you use it. This is our package, right? You just require the require the package itself, and you can just pass like you can just use the transformer function which is there in our npm package, and you can just pass the CPU profile path, the source maps which are optional. So source maps are like, again, let's say you know how I gave this JavaScript and TypeScript comparison, that TypeScript makes JavaScript better. In the same way, a source map makes a performance profile better. Yeah, I mean that's probably the best way to put it. It gives more information about the things that are happening in your app. So these are optional. I mean, just this works, but it's source maps are definitely a good to have. So it was nice that we just abstracted it into one function, and then once you get the events, you can just like save it on your file system, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean that is it. It's a pretty easy to use package. So let's just go through the source code a little bit. Also, this was probably like one of the first times where I managed to have good folder structure and stuff. Not very essential, but when you're contributing to open source projects at Facebook or other established open source projects, you want to have good directory structure. And if you don't have an idea of like what a good directory structure or what's readable code, you can just go through the code itself. Which is why the initial interest is very important, because you need to like know how they write their code and try to like write it like that. Yeah. Also, yeah, so this is, I mean, I don't really know where exactly I need to. I mean, the best way to put it is probably like how I have managed to like modularize the code, right? That's actually what would you think that, Kunal, that would be the best takeaway like from this code base? Like, what exactly are we looking for here?
Yeah, I mean, not specifically regarding, what I would suggest is like maybe you can tell them a bit more about uh, because since it's open source project, right? So maybe we can give them a more insight about the Facebook, open source culture. For example, uh, the the repository structure that we are following over here. So, for example, like when we contributed like React or React Native, right? We know that it's built on master, or I'm not sure if they've changed it to main or not right now. So what it means is that when your code gets merged, you can directly see that into the main project. By the way, is Safal frozen? Yeah, Safal is gone. That's I thought it was a error on my part. So yeah, Safal will be joining us shortly. I think there's some networking issue, but we'll see if you have any questions.
My internet just got cut off. Yeah, sorry, sorry
Safal is
about that.
back. Yeah, no worries, no worries. The demo
Yeah,
gods are
okay, so
not with
I
us.
I my
Anyway,
again. Actually, oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. I hope
No
like
worries, no
okay.
worries.
Could you maybe like tell me like what
It's better
exactly
now.
you think would benefit? Yeah.
Yeah, so we were
Okay.
just talking about like the repo structure, right? That is what most organizations have, like,
Mm-hmm.
mostly unique type. So like when we're talking about like Facebook projects, like built on master or main, whatever that might be. Uh, so yeah, regarding that, maybe you
Mm-hmm.
can share a bit more about like what sort of a, like, when
Sure.
contributing to open source Facebook project, Facebook open source projects, right? What difference did you see in these terms?
Uh, yeah. Again, I wouldn't say like I'm probably like the best like the best person to comment on that because our repo was like entirely different. But
Mhm.
in general, I can speak about like how you should be
Yeah.
maintaining branches and stuff.
Mm.
So ideally, the code that you have on master should be fully working code, ready to be deployed at any time, right? And you usually have like a staging branch where you want to test your changes before merging to master.
Mm.
And all the changes that you do should be merged into staging in in any shape or form. Like maybe you want to work on feature A, right? And you create like an entire a separate branch for feature A. And once you're done with all the dev, you merge it into staging, and you make sure that you test it before you actually deploy it to people who can use it, right? So that's why staging branch is kind of important in that sense. But the procedure is quite simple when you're contributing to open source projects as well. If let's say it's like an established repo like React or Jest or anything really, you want to fork it, and on the fork you might want to create different branches on the different features that you work on, and then you would want to raise a pull request and merge it back into the source repositories base branch, and that can be staging. In some cases, that's master, but whatever it is, you want to basically make sure that your code is in different branches so that you don't break existing production code or existing existing experimental code. You want to usually uh, you know do your changes on a separate branch so that you don't like mess up their code, right? If that makes
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and like good GitHub practices is like it's common, in any project you contribute to, and
Yeah.
like Safal mentioned, right? Because I believe you were facing very very lack of documentation in this project. Is that correct?
My God. Yes. Wow. Way to hit the nail, yeah, with the hammer. But yeah, I mean, like literally no documentation. Actually, in fact,
Yeah.
if you look up Hermes, you just see like, oh, okay, you see like this one page which is like explains what Hermes is, and that's about it. So it took like a lot of digging, not only into Hermes but also into like performance profiles themselves as to what they mean, what they are, and one of the things that we went through was trace event format, which is like a
Mhm.
specification by Google, because the idea was to merge. The idea was to create a performance profile for which supports Google Chrome, right? So you
Hmm.
also need to go through documentation of like what is supported, like what Google Chrome supports, and what are the different formats that what are the different formats that can exist for performance profiles.
Hmm.
So again, this is like a really lengthy document which used to explain like how performance profiles are, but it's like they didn't really give us all the pieces to the puzzle, right? Like
Hmm.
there were only certain things that were available, and we had to like kind of make do by just trying out a bunch of things and
Hmm.
trying to interpret. In some cases we also had to like interpret meaning because there was no clear documentation as to, oh, why does
Hmm.
this field exist. I
Hmm.
don't know why does this field exist. Even in the docs it doesn't really say, but
Yeah.
sometimes you have to like make sure that your code is clear enough to interpret meaning, which somehow we managed to do that and get the results for
Hmm.
this
So like,
particular
yeah,
project.
there's a follow-up question on
Although,
that. Like you're
yeah.
saying, yeah, yeah, like there's like no doc, not lack, lack of documentations and all these things. So, uh, how did you like go from that to making the profiler?
Oh my God. A lot of
Like
hard
maybe the
work,
question
first
can
of
be
all.
narrowed down to like the question can be like narrowed down to like what resources did you use, right? So that's
Mhm.
like a pretty straightforward question. And how did
Yeah.
you find those resources?
Sure. My most the most valuable resource that we had was obviously uh, the project manager's time, Ram.
Mm,
He was at Facebook, and he you know had he took like such a kind step by helping us out with any questions
mm,
that we had, because we used to have like weekly meetings, and we could just ask him some of the questions that we had, and he used to give us the answers to the best of his ability. We also had Yanni, who was our mentor during the MLS fellowship, and he used to like assist us with anything which is not really product specific. Let's say things that are related to the syntax, or things that like this. Like when I said, we aggregated the data and had to make sense of like what was happening. Yanni played like a
mm,
huge role in like helping us make sense of that data. But more often than not, you're not going to have like a readily accessible mentor, right? More often than not, you would actually have to reach out to people and ask certain questions. And this is where
mm,
I believe, Kunal, you have like explained this a bajillion number of times, but whenever you ask questions, you need to be very specific, because you don't want to waste the other
yeah.
person's time, and you need to be very specific in like, oh, actually this is the exact issue that I'm facing, and could you help me with
Mm,
that? There are also some issues which are like very difficult to explain, like, well, you're just not able to run the repo, right? You don't really know, like,
mm.
you can't just ask like, oh, how
Yeah.
do I run the repo, right? But
Yeah.
believe it or not, the people who make the repo are absolutely aware that it's difficult to run the code that they've written, and they definitely will help you out. So, but you should also like try your best. Yeah. Don't resort to like asking someone first, because that's not how you will grow as a developer. You need to
Most
firstly
definitely.
struggle quite a
Mm,
bit before asking someone else
yeah.
for the help. But
Yeah.
about very tangible resources, I would say, like everyone says, just Google and Stack Overflow is like the way to go, because really, I mean, uh, uh,
Mm,
it's only courtesy of Google and Stack Overflow that I even have a job, right? So, and I
yeah.
mean, I'm pretty sure you also would agree to this, that the
I
only
agree.
reason you know how to code is because Google and Stack Overflow exist, right? So, yeah,
You're
feel free to
watching,
rely on
yeah, the
those.
internet, the internet, right? So you're watching this session
Yeah,
on the internet also, like,
yeah,
so YouTube is also part of like Google. So there's that. But yeah, that's a very good point, right? Because you will get stuck somewhere, right? So asking
yeah,
questions is important, and you can just join
yeah,
a mailing list, join the group chat, and ask your questions over there. But
yeah,
yeah, let's see if we have any questions over here. Mm. So this is a good question. Like when we are first starting with open source projects, right? Making good contributions, for example. So would you suggest like what level of personal projects would you suggest we should be making before making contributions in open source? I can start with that. Like most of the experience I have gotten with projects has been via open source, and not many like uh, you know uh, personal projects or anything like that. What do you
personal.
suggest about that? It's like that necessary, or I mean, it definitely helps, but like I directly like jumped onto open source right in
Yeah,
my first freshman year, so maybe we can hear it about from your point of view as well.
look, I agree 100%. You don't really need to, do a lot of personal projects, because, I mean, look, you started in first year, right? I started in third year. Okay, I started coding in third year. So, like,
Oh,
I
nice.
100% agree. You just need to dive in head first, and just you'll definitely struggle quite a bit more if you are not that familiar with like the technology or the language
Hmm.
itself. But it's all part of the process, and you look for also. I know the reason that the question was asked was, it's very difficult to imagine yourself bridging the gap between knowing absolutely nothing about a repo into building a feature in the repository. And believe
Hmm.
me, it's not a one step process. You definitely need to go through easy to. They definitely have
Yeah.
like some beginner issues, or like, oh, this
Hmm.
is in beginner issue, you
there's
can
a
definitely contribute to this. You need to build
there's a
that up.
question
You
on that.
don't.
Yeah.
It's not one. It's not one. Oh yeah. How much time do you think it
on the
takes
screen.
to learn a project basic to work on it? It's really frustrating. You don't get. Ah, of course. You go through the issues. Okay. Go through the issues. Try to identify beginner issues or easy to solve issues. And if they don't have that labeled, uh, try and reach out. Try and comment at some issues and say if you understand the context of like what's happening.
Hmm.
And even if you don't, uh, I mean it's really difficult to like nail this question, but more often than not, you'll just find issues that are easy to solve, or at least issues that
Hmm.
you can identify with and try to contribute to that. I know that's kind of a vague answer, but I mean that's the best I got. Also, in terms of understanding the code repo itself, I would say this is like a proper. I don't know if this works for every repo or not, but if any repo has tests,
No, that is.
go through the tests.
I share that as well. Like a lot of times, go through tests, write tests, right? Issues are always taken. That's okay. Like you know, you can definitely reach out to the community as well. Like, hey, I'm a beginner. Can you suggest me something I can work on? If you're not able to
Yeah.
find an issue, for example, right? That is also something you can do. So there's this question: do I first search issues and then contact maintainers or break it from the issues, or do I directly? You can just
Oh,
comment on the issue, right?
yeah. I would say directly contact maintainers only if you need to.
You,
It's
yeah,
very
because
important to
having
have
conversations
something.
in public. Hmm.
Yeah. It's also very important. Like the maintainer needs to know that you're serious, right? Like he
Yeah.
probably gets messages all the time, right? It would be great if you had some work and you showed that, and even if it's like wrong by like a huge margin, but the maintainer at least understands that, oh yeah, this guy is interested, this guy is willing to put in the work, he has already put in this work, so I'm assuming he would see it through to completion, and you would
Hmm.
like it's just a courtesy, right, to like have something done
Hmm.
or something researched before you reach out to him. But if you're like
Yeah.
truly clueless and you
Hmm.
genuinely cannot start, then I mean, sure, by all means, go ahead.
And there's this question regarding making project proposals for programs like GSoC and stuff. So yeah, I'll be uploading a video on that soon with this program only. So make sure you check that out and see a lot of people watching. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. And we have a lot of nice open source projects coming up. So make sure you join those. You can find all the scheduled ones in the Spring of Code playlist. And yeah, let's see. This is another weird question I get a lot of times. I personally don't feel like there is a difference, but if you could give your 2 cents on this.
Oh my God, there's no difference, dude. I mean, even if there is a difference, I don't know. I'm in EC, okay? They've kept
Oh,
this
you're from
thing. This
ECE.
thing is a oh yeah. This is like completely not my
Hmm.
expertise. But I mean, I've seen people in CS and IT talk about this, that you know it's not that different, although I mean, I kind of
It's not.
understand maybe from the job point of view, like working as an IT
Hmm.
engineer versus a software engineer is kind of different, because IT I mean, again, I could totally be wrong, but I believe that IT is more to do with systems and more administrative kind of work, while software
Hmm.
engineer is more aligns more with the idea of what we think software jobs are like. I
Yeah.
believe IT
I
is
think it's
more
all,
more to
yeah.
do with
I
constructing
think it's,
systems and stuff.
I think it's all like, it does not matter at all. Reason
Yeah,
being,
that of course.
in my college, like, if we are talking about curriculum, then the computer science curriculum is also not of computer science, right? We are learning Java servlets, and those are not even being used. We are learning metallurgy, chemistry, physics, and all these things, right? The entire first
Yeah.
year we did not even touch computer science. Entire
Yep.
first year. Entire second year we were like learning circuits and semiconductors and all these things. I'm like, yeah, if we're talking about how is IT and CS different, so how is CS different than actual CS, right? Because
Mm.
for the first 2 years in my college, I did not see any like major computer science spirit even in my professors and stuff. So don't worry about this. Like there's plenty of opportunity for everyone. You can see Safal.
Yeah.
By the way, Safal, how many internships have you done? By the way,
Bro,
in
bruh,
your
I've done
college?
8. Okay, although
Yeah.
eight, maybe 9. I'm not sure,
And you also
but
like
the
Safar also no, wait, let me try to build the momentum here, right? So Safal has done like 8 some internships. He's been like electrical branch, and now he also went to Japan, I think, for an internship.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you can see like the motivation from Safal. Like, the curriculum is like you should not be bound towards the curriculum. But no, Safal, you were saying something.
Yeah. No, I was saying that the curriculum wise, I also think that it's like, I mean, it's the
Hmm.
same. I don't see any
Yeah.
difference between them whatsoever. I probably meant more from like a job standpoint. Maybe it's different, but I'm pretty sure everyone. I mean, I'm positive that everyone is uh, looking at computer science for maybe a software engineer career. No shade
Hmm.
against the people who are looking for IT stuff, because some people are genuinely interested in systems and they want to create
That's fine.
complex systems and stuff.
Uh,
But
It's important as
I
well.
believe most of them, I believe
Hmm.
most of the people here mean software engineer when they say that. But when it comes to
Hmm.
education, like there's no difference between IT and computer science. I don't see any difference. I don't know.
Yeah, just get out of your comfort zone, start learning. And we have one more question
Yes.
regarding the contribution point of view. Can giving new ideas for features count as open source project contribution?
Yes and no. It depends on how well you research it. If the feature is well researched and you've maybe devised even a roadmap as to how it can be made, what are the different steps that need to be uh, that you need to take to like complete the feature, then I would say
Hmm.
it's not really a contribution. It's probably a very very good start to a contribution, because I mean,
Hmm.
trust me, planning is probably the most important thing, that most important asset that you have when you're making open source contributions. If you can plan well, then I mean you're pretty much set, right?
Yeah.
But
Also, like,
more
yeah,
often than not, you're just gonna come
hmm.
across new challenges. But yeah, go ahead.
When you're first of all, like when you're giving new ideas for features and stuff, make sure it's legit, right? Make sure
Yeah,
it's not like
exactly.
click, because there are clickbaity issues. Why do people do it? मैं बताता हूँ. Like why people are doing it, because when you open an issue, it counts as like a contribution in the GitHub graph, and over there in the
Oh,
organizations, the organization is listed. So people are so weird that they are opening spammy issues and stuff just so that they have the organization in the GitHub profile. So don't do that. Don't do things like that, because that is not good
I didn't
and it's
even
not
know
going to
this.
be real. Yeah,
I didn't even
people
know
are
this.
doing it. People are. I saw this. This is one person. He has like, I don't know, so many contributions and so many organizations, right? TensorFlow, Facebook, Google, Red Hat, and like so many organizations. Like, oh wow, how is some one person doing like so many, like, it was like he also had like Arduino, and he also had like what was it like so many like Jenkins, Circle CI, and so many projects. So when you look at these things, right? So how do you actually figure out if that is legit or not? Just click on the organization. You will see all the green commits will vanish, and there'll be only just one commit in the corner, right? And when you open that commit, it'll be like probably some comment they made or some review they did, which does not have any
My
value. So
God.
don't do that. Yeah, something like that also happened during Hacktoberfest. So don't do these things. This is the reason we have started Code for Cause and like Spring of Code and all these things to tell you about what the benefits of open source are, and just don't do spam stuff. Is what I wanted to
How
share.
how do how do people come up with this? I didn't even know this. Like even when you told me, like I'm still like, have I seen this?
Yeah.
I don't really.
Yeah. Anyway, this is one more question we have. Into open source development, been contributing to different production level projects, but I'm not seeing any performance boost in me. I mean, if you're not learning anything new, that's probably the reason. So try to focus
Mhm.
on more projects out of your comfort zone. Safal, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. Like I'm a little confused as to how come you're not seeing a performance boost, even if it's things that you have already done. You at least, I'm assuming you would by now have a very clear idea of like why things work the way they work,
Hmm.
which is a huge positive in itself. Like
Hmm.
imagine it in this way, that I'm pretty sure you the first time that you did it, by now I'm pretty sure you do it much faster. So that
Hmm.
technically is a boost, right? But yeah, if you're talking about new skills, then yeah, definitely contribute to different to build different skill sets. You definitely need to contribute to a wide variety of projects so that
Hmm.
you learn more things. I mean, yeah, but I mean, really, even if you're contributing to the same kind of work, even even if it's slightly different, I'm assuming that you'd be able to do it much faster, which does count as like a boost. I don't know. That's a boost for me. I don't know about you.
I agree, and the thing is like if you're contributing to a project and that you don't know much about, so there's this thing we often hear, which is what is that thing? Uh, that I don't know much thing and other people know a lot. What is that thing? Imposter syndrome, right?
Oh,
So I believe that's
imposter syndrome.
a
Yeah.
imposter syndrome, right? So I believe if you're facing imposter syndrome, especially in the technical part, so I believe you can take that in a optimistic way, like, okay, I'm not aware of all these things and I'll now learn, and it's also a chance for me to contribute. If you're just contributing to a project you already know everything about, as a student point of view, you won't be learning new things. So try to get involved in the community, try to challenge yourself is basically what I'm saying. And yeah, don't be afraid to just basically people saying how much knowledge should we have before contributing. So knowledge is okay, like having basic knowledge of the tech stack is fine. The most important thing is like having that will to explore and learn. Like if someone asks me to learn this framework, I'll do that. If this project requires this thing, then I'll experiment, learn, do Stack Overflow. Just get started is the most important point, right? So there's this thing like I always get super pumped up after Code for Cause live streams, but forget to plan. So
Use a
please plan.
calendar.
Please use the calendar. Calendar is important. So we have done so many live streams, right, on open source. So we're talking about like some DSA repos and stuff. It's not going to help you in the long term. That's a fact, right? Contributing to contribute to some big project that is actually being used by a lot of people, that has a strong community. And what do you think, Safal?
Yeah, I think so too. I remember I think my first Hacktoberfest contribution ever. I think it was like in first year of college. I was not really into coding. Like I said, I got into coding maybe around third year. So I believe my first one was to a DSA repo, and I was like, well, I mean,
Same.
okay, I got a free shirt, but like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, the thing is like with DSA
How can it
repos,
be that
it's
easy?
really, yeah, DSA repos ka kya, it's like it's a very good way for you to at least learn about Git and GitHub, right?
Yeah,
If you're not
exactly.
getting any real world experience, you will definitely learn about Git and GitHub. But if you already know about that, then it's like I always say that contributing to, let's say, the README file or improving the documentation, for example, it's a very good place to start. But it's not like you are past 4 years of college, and we have asked you like how did you what did you do in open source contributions. So like मैंने ना 100 organizations के readme file में grammar ठीक करी है. So like, that is not like it's like beginner friendly issues, where it's okay, but it's not like you should not make that your thing. Like I'm the person who
Yeah.
solves the grammatical errors in open source projects. That's a good thing, like if you're doing that, but that's not the only thing you should do. Because if I'm talking about like
Yes.
from a software engineering learning point of view, try to contribute to some code as well. But definitely this should not be underestimated, because the community part is also really important. You see very many big projects by CNCF and stuff, they have so many important roles that do not even require coding. So please, definitely, you can check that out as well. So open source tech is for everyone. We always say this, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Although
Suffer
I mean,
dropping
I'm
facts.
slightly. I'm. Thanks, man. I do live to drop facts. Yeah. But I mean, I would say the documentation point is like don't mistake entirely, like the
Hmm.
grammar part is definitely like don't be correcting grammar for 4 years, please don't
Hmm.
do that. But if you're going to be adding documentation which adds, let's say, architectural info of like
Yeah, that's great.
how the code is
Hmm.
structured, or maybe what services are being used, that kind of stuff is
Hmm.
welcomed. Okay, we would still
Yeah,
recommend
and we
getting
have
into code because
yeah. Hmm.
that's like the nitty gritty,
Yeah,
but
the
working on
the whole
broad
idea over
architecture is
here.
also great.
Hmm. Yeah, you can definitely contribute, in terms, if you're not from a coding background, and I see many people do that as well. But if you want to get experience in coding, then obviously you have to do coding, right? So I'm not saying everyone has to do it, but if that was the question you asked, right? You asked, I'm not getting exposure in terms of my development skills. Definitely you have
Yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah.
get out of your comfort zone. Which platform is better to get internship for CSE? I don't know, LinkedIn, Twitter, networking, Safal?
Talk to people. No
Hmm.
platform's best.
Yeah,
Talk to
just
people.
LinkedIn,
No
Twitter,
platform's
networking,
best.
just
Like these things.
talk to people like, yeah, just have a good online profile, and yeah.
Also, yeah,
All right.
I'm really sorry I didn't address this person's question about like the issue title being too verbose. Usually,
Which one?
if you're just going through issue title and noticing that it's very
Mhm.
verbose, that's a problem. Go through the issue itself also. Try to get more
Mhm.
context. If you see issue title and be like ये तो नहीं होगा, then ये
Mhm.
definitely नहीं होगा.
Yeah,
Go through the issue
that is not
itself.
good.
Try
It's
to
like,
give it more
yeah,
time.
exactly. And like you should definitely explore more about the issue, right? So try to see what things they are requesting, and what's the error, for example, and how you can
Yeah.
go with it. And you can always, like, for example, if it's an error, try to reproduce on your local system, right?
Yeah.
If you're not able to reproduce it, then ask, how can I reproduce this error? And many people are asking like very beginner questions, like regarding GSoC and like open source and how to make proposals. So I want to share, we'll be having live streams for this as well. So if you got an email, if you can check the uh, post we made about Spring of Code. So we divided that into weeks, right? So the first and second week were like project maintainers, and we have like an entire structure. We'll be doing sessions on this as well, like some open source programs and stuff, because GSoC is a very requested topic. And oh, no worries. We are trying to explain over here that you can still contribute irrespective of GSoC and stuff, but still, if you are asking, then we'll do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I see a lot of people are watching, so make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I believe we answered most of the questions. There's one more very important point I want to share with you all. Please do listen to it. The next session we have in 15 minutes, it's on contributing to Arduino. So many people have reached out to us like, okay, CS and IT and everything is fine. What about people who are from like, electronics and electrical? So how do they do these contributions and stuff? So we have a live stream in 15 minutes, especially for people who are from electronics and electrical branches, on contributing to Arduino. So make sure you join that. We'll be having a community person from Arduino, and also we'll be having someone who is an electrical student, right? So we'll be having an entire discussion on that, and please make sure you share about it with your electronics and electrical friends as well, so that they can also join. But yeah, that was amazing, and
Yep.
let's see if we have any more questions. So Code for Cause is taking part in Google Summer of Code this year. Make sure you check out the idea list of JBoss. Let me share that with you. Like, we started like 7-8 months ago, and now we are like, I'm really proud of the community we have here. It's going
Of
pretty good.
course, man. It's.
Yes,
I
thank you.
mean, when I saw that tweet, I was like, my God, man. Well, Kunal, the hell is going on,
Cool,
man?
cool, cool.
How you gotten so big? I remember when you had like just you'd said that I had started this channel 1 month ago, and
Mhm.
getting to where you are now. I mean, really, hats
Yeah,
off, yeah.
we have a yeah. Thanks a lot, and really appreciate it. And we have a question regarding how to. There's this thing like there was one question. One second. There's this question on college, right? So there was this: how do we manage like college, and how to pass end sem first sem mate? Oh, mate mein ho. If you're in mate, so mate mein chill hai. Like, mate is very chill. Just the idea over here is like there's this book called what is this book? Akash Guide something. It has previous year questions. So mate people and IP people are, I should not say this, but very lazy in terms of making questions. They send repeated questions every day. This is what I do. When I was like, before every paper, I look at the syllabus when I'm going to college to give paper, right? Literally. I open the book, I see the syllabus, and Akash mates like, okay, this is something, okay. I just read the content and stuff, I read the headings, and just the idea over here is write a lot of things, because that is what
Yes.
happens in IP. If you're in IP, right? Because I can only speak about IP. I cannot speak about any other college. So if you're in IP, write a lot of things, and it's going to be good. But if you're not from IP, if your college is very strict with checking and stuff, definitely you have to learn. But one tip I can give you is, when your college starts, right, just read it like a story, so that when you do go ahead with it, it will not be like something new you're learning. So just read your books and stuff like a story. But if you're from mate and IP, just write a lot of things and just chill. Chilling is important. But I mean, I cannot
I
say
see.
about, for example, like DTU, for example, I
Kunal's
don't know
giving
about
eight
DTU.
tips, yeah?
Yeah, I'm only giving tips regarding mate and IP. That is how I passed my entire I study a bit, and then I explore a bit, and I write
Uh,
it in my own words, make diagrams and stuff. That's how I do it.
Dude, this is what
But
we
one
do
more
as well.
point I want to
Okay, our
mention.
college is not different.
Yeah, one point I want to mention is like it's not about studying and not studying, because there are some very important topics in computer science and BTech and stuff, right? Like operating system compiler design, DSA analysis of algorithms, and like so many things, like database management. So I was able to score good on all these because I'm not like waiting for this to come in my curriculum. It's not like fourth sem we will have operating systems, so I will learn this in fourth sem or like sixth sem. No, if I have time, I will start doing it on my own. So when the exams actually come, I am able to score good because I actually like those subjects. So that is something I wanted to mention, right? Because this is a very important. I believe this is common to every college, because in every college you have these subjects, and this is important for computer science. So definitely, if you study with the motivation and having fun, learning more about it, then when the exams come, then you will be good to go. But that was it about this session. We have one more in 9 minutes for electrical and electronic peeps. So yeah, make sure you join that, and yeah, make sure you share about it with your friends as well, and check out all the links in the description. And make sure you follow Safal at Twitter, which is at Safal Insan. And yeah, thanks a lot for joining, Safal. Any closing remarks?
Nothing, man. I believe you're doing a great job by just introducing more people to open source. I mean, Kunal is probably the person who harks the most about open source, but is equally committed about it as well, which is
Yeah.
astonishing because like how do you do both at once? Yeah. But yeah, I'm really thankful for thank you for inviting me, and also pretty sure everybody is very happy that you're doing this
Hmm.
and just helping people out. So
Yeah. Most definitely. The people are saying do a dab, bro. And someone is asking how do I get swags. So every stream I'm like wearing a new swag t-shirt. So this is one is from I believe Redis. Yeah, Redis. So I don't know, like go to conferences, go to events, contribute open source, and they'll send you swags and stuff. But you should not do it for swags. Okay, you should do it for the experience and helping the community. But anyway, thanks for joining, Safal and everyone. I will see you all in another session, which is in 8 minutes. So make sure you join over there. And yeah, happy hacking. एक तो MLS में ना happy hacking बोलने की आदत हो गई है. So happy hacking, happy contribute. May the source be with you and whatever that might be. But yeah, see you all in the next session and have a great day. Bye bye.
yep. Bye bye.